Hi, I'm Rachel Lynn, and I'm working on paying off my student loan debt and losing some weight along the way. I'm also here to give you tips, tricks, inspiration, and motivation along your debt-free and weight loss journeys. If you are not already subscribed, please go ahead and click the red subscribe button down below so that we can inspire and motivate each other together. Today is, of course, Money Monday. Today is that day of the week where I tell you everything that I spent in the previous week. I do this to hold myself accountable in my spending. I also like Money Mondays because, I don't know about you, but I'm always interested in what people spend their money on, whether they're budgeting or not. I'm just kind of curious, and especially if you are a budgeter, what is it that's important to you to spend money on a regular basis? So I'm letting you be curious without you actually having to ask, because I'm an open book around here, especially when it comes to anything to do with my money or my weight loss. So for the purposes of Money Monday, my week goes from Saturday to Friday of the previous week. That puts the weekend together, which I feel like holds me more accountable, and then it also gives me a couple of days to get it up onto YouTube for you. So I also tell you everything that I spend, whether it's on my card, which goes into my budgets, or if it was on a gift card or cash, and those things do not go through my budgets. If you don't know, I don't use the cash envelope system. There's a whole bunch of reasons why I prefer to use my cards over cash, and one of those is that I like having the receipts, even if I lose actual physical receipts. And I just have a completely different mindset when it comes to cash in general compared to others that regularly use cash envelopes. And so since gift cards and cash don't go through my regular budgets, I feel like this is an extra way to hold myself accountable rather than just spending all the cash that I get and then not kind of like being held accountable for it. I also do not include regular bills, things that come out of my account automatically. All of that does go through my budget, and so you'll have to check out my budget videos for all of that, but I don't talk about those things in this video because one, they're a little boring, and two, for the automated things, I really just don't think about them that much because it is automated. That's kind of the whole purpose why I like to have them automated. I plan ahead in my budgets when I set up my budgets for the month, but then after that, I don't have to worry about it. It's taken out automatically. Certain bills are paid. I'm good to go. And then other bills that I do pay, like intentionally pay, like my cell phone bill, that's just boring. I don't know. So I like to talk about, I guess, the more fun stuff that I spend, even though I don't really know that I spend a lot of money on fun stuff. Anyway, I'll let you be the judge of that. So let's go ahead and get into my spending for this week. On Saturday, October 26th, that feels like so long ago because it's already November. I mean, wow. Okay. Saturday, October 26th, I spent $22.96 at Love's for gas. This was the last fill up that I needed, I think, for the month, and definitely for coming to or from Keeneland when I was working at that racetrack in Lexington, which is about an hour away from me. So I spent a lot of money on gas this last month. I also spent $5 at Keeneland on a chicken salad sandwich for lunch. This was in cash because I didn't want that regular lunch. Every time I went to work at Keeneland, I allowed myself to buy lunch, but I used cash, which I made in tips from working at Keeneland. So it didn't really touch my budget at all. Well, it didn't touch my budget at all because I used cash, but then it also didn't really, I still had more money in tips left over after all of the food that I bought over the whole month. Then I also had to put $20 cash into my money box at Keeneland. So I cash and sell betting tickets, and we are 100% responsible for all of the money that goes in and out of the box. Somewhere along the line, I must have made a mistake. This is not something that I do very often, and so it was very, very upsetting to me, especially because I was $20 short. I mean, that's a lot. So this isn't exactly spending, but it is money that I had to give up that was mine, and I had to give it up and put it into the box. I do want to point out that I make very, very good money working at the racetracks. I work at both Keeneland and Churchill Downs, and I make about $20 an hour at Keeneland and about, I think, like $23 an hour at Churchill Downs. So it's really, really good money. But we are responsible for our box, and that puts a lot of responsibility on us. And just for instance, actually I worked at Churchill Downs this weekend, and I paid out over $12,000. So if I make several mistakes in there and make hundreds of dollars in mistakes, which I actually have made a $200 mistake, that's the biggest mistake I've ever made, I have to pay for it. And so we are responsible for that box. And so that kind of gives a reason to have such a high pay, because we are so responsible for that money. And so this mistake that I made on the 26th, I basically worked an entire hour for free to make up for that mistake that I made. And it sucks. I mean, I kind of feel like $20, it's not a whole lot, but in my world, every penny counts. And, you know, that's a lot of pennies. And so yeah, that hurt. And it was money that I technically had to spend. This was also my last day at Keeneland. It was the very last day of the racing meet for October. And so it was just kind of like the last day, and I didn't even make any money in tips that day to like make up for it. So it was just really upsetting that day. But on Sunday, October 27th, I didn't spend any money at all because I didn't have to drive to Keeneland. I didn't have to buy lunch, and I didn't really go anywhere or do anything that day. Actually, I might have tried to work at Churchill Downs. I think that was opening day, but I didn't work. So either way, I didn't spend money. On Monday, October 28th, I spent $8.56 at Penn Station. I got a sandwich and a drink, and I was out. I actually had an interview right before dinner time, and so I decided to get dinner because I had an interview for a teaching job that evening, and then I had another one the next day. So I decided to spend a little bit of money to kind of like celebrate, I guess, having had interviews, even though nothing came of them. It was still exciting to have a couple of interviews and possible job prospects. Plus, I was on my own for dinner. My parents were out, and so, I mean, I'm not going to cook. Are you kidding? I also decided to put this under my teaching category because I probably would have eaten something at home, whether it was like a can of tuna or something like that if I had been at home. But because I was out for the interview, then I decided to get food while I was out. And so, and since it was also a celebration of having 2 job interviews, then I decided that this would actually go under my teaching category for this expense. So, of course, this was also on my card, which I don't think I said earlier. On Tuesday, October 29th, I spent nothing. On Wednesday, October 30th, I spent $10 for a background check. Okay, so this is like a stupid expense that I had to spend money on. So about a month, actually a little over a month ago, I spent $10 on a background check in order to substitute teach in the public schools, and that background check never came through. I keep waiting on it, and it's not coming through. And I also discovered after I had purchased it that I actually requested the wrong background check, but they told me that they would accept either one. So I figured, like, because I think I applied for the one that was like slightly more extensive or something, I'm not really sure, but they're different, but that they would accept both. And so I just kept waiting for this background check to come back, waiting and waiting. It's been over a month, nothing. So I finally called them and asked the actual background check people rather than the school people that it's going to go to. And they told me that the background check that I had originally applied for, they don't do those checks at all until January, and that the payment will not transfer from one to the other. So basically, I either wait until January to get this check back in and won't be able to sub in the public schools until January, or I pay another $10 for the other background check and get that in. So I paid another $10. So hopefully I will be able to sub in the public schools very soon, which means I will be working a lot more regularly. And once I'm working more regularly, then maybe I can actually plan my budgets a little bit differently and actually start putting money back towards debt. So that would be a really good thing. Then on Thursday, October 31st, I spent $1 in cash at a vending machine. This was at a school that I was subbing at, and I really needed a drink. Like, I was desperate for a drink, and also needed a bit of caffeine because I didn't have any coffee that morning. And yeah, I'm apparently very addicted to caffeine. I never wanted to be, and I always tried to avoid it, but yeah, I had a really, really bad headache because I did not have coffee that morning, so I needed the caffeine. I also completely forgot a water bottle, period. I probably would have been able to get through the day had I at least had a water bottle. I would have taken some medicine for my headache and tried to break through it, but I didn't have my water bottle that day either, and it was Halloween. And I was studying on Halloween, and the kids were crazy. Yeah, I mean, they really weren't that bad. But, you know, I just needed the caffeine, and I needed a drink, period. And I don't know why I am, like, justifying a $1 purchase so much. So anyway, moving on. On Friday, November 1st, I spent nothing. So yay! That is everything that I spent in this past week. I would love to know from you, what is something that you spent money on this last week? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video with a thumbs up. That really helps me out here on YouTube, and of course, commenting and sharing the video and all of that really helps me out here as well. So I appreciate any of that you can do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.